Hello, John.
Nick, we're back.
Oh,
We're back here.
we're so nearly there.
I've got my black background, I got my white beard, and I've got my red shirt. We're getting we're it's that look. It's that time. It's time to jump into the laboratory and begin the
The
alchemical reading.
the excitement is
And it
palpable. But I think
really is. It really is.
after the July that we had, I think I'm going into this book a lot more conscious that I'm not just reading it. Of course, I'm reading it for entertainment, but I'm not just reading it for entertainment. So I'm reading it intentionally. It's a thing I try to do anyway, but I think more so than I ever have before on a rolling book, I'm starting this with an intention of what can I learn from this?
We got a note the other day from a serious reader named Anne Murphy. And
Lovely note.
Yeah, and she said she's basically on her second trip through the Konrecki series.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she knows how much that does raise my spirits. And somebody is I hope she has it on double speed or something. So she doesn't have to, but anyway, and that's really helping her grasp these things. And thank you, Anne, for that. And if you're out there, and I want to say that it was as much a service to me and a discipline for me, and I know for Nick and me to be talking that we do this lake and shed banter. It's hard to not get dragged into the tsunami, the suck up into the marketing efforts and the latest book and the book that's coming out and the book you have in hand and how exciting that is. I mean, seriously, I've been doing that for 25 years, but that. When you can step back and see the whole view and you start pulling on the golden threads and you go through everything in the series, especially in what you've been bringing to the table here, Nick, stuff that I was astonished, reading through the first strikes that I haven't read, again in a long time. One, about how enjoyable they were, but also how many references there were to class.
Yeah.
About, Michael Fancourt's being consumed by being lower middle class. I thought, wow. Coming from someone like Rowling, that's I mean, that was a tell I totally missed, the first times I read it. I mean, I think, oh, wow. Except for that kind of Konrecki experience, I'm not sensitive to that kind of thing. And Rowling is dropping those, those bon mots, those little treats. I'm excited about this book because I think it's really the first time that we've really come into a book with the fourth generation perspective, really fresh in our minds. I'm still the tools in the shed guy. I got the things I really want to talk about that other people don't talk about.
Yeah.
We've been going through that the last couple of messages about what we do here that other people don't do, they can't do, and that's what I have to be focused on rather than the other concerns. What readers that are beach readers or thematic readers, academic readers. That's not what I bring to the table. So why do I worry about that? So I mean, what do you tell me your mundane plans for what you're going to do? I guess this is going to go up on Monday. What are you going to do? What's your plan for like Monday night, Tuesday morning?
Unfortunately, work schedules have not been kind for me. So I have a full week of work next week, and from Wednesday through till Friday midday, it's going to be pretty busy. So I know I have a project on, and it's going to take a lot of my capacity. But even so, I am going to be. I'm an early riser anyway, so I'm usually awake at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm probably on Tuesday. I'm going to be awake a little bit earlier than normal. If you've seen the Hogwarts Professor weblog, we've got this really strange North American edition up to the first couple of pages of chapter 14, hosted on a French library website that's still live at time of recording. So I'm going to skip straight to chapter 14 and pick up where I've left off. I've read this release through a couple of times, so I think that's fairly fixed in my mind. So I've got myself a little bit of a head start, but I'm not going to skim. So as I say, I'm going to be reading this intentionally, and probably I'm not going to finish the book until some point on Sunday, because what I want to be doing is making notes as I go through. And again, they're going to be notes for Lake and Shed, so things that we've predicted. I don't know how.
What predictions have we made? Really, I mean, I know that like for Deathly Hallows,
yeah,
which was really peak Pottermania. The whole world was waiting for that book to come out, and there was security around these issues. There weren't these bizarre things like a German edition. Here's the first 10 chapters in German. So we're going to machine translate it. And I mean, as I don't know if the team rolling is playing 8-level chess or what, but they look like the Keystone Cops every time a book comes out. They have all these leaks, and audiobook comes out, they pull the audiobook back, and then we get the German thing, it's translated, and the German thing comes down, and now we have an English language version, the original obviously on a French website. Like, oh sure, why not? That's but really when a new book comes out, per the model that we have from the days of Pottermania, everybody lines up and puts down their predictions, and then they do the incredibly boring thing of scoring their own card when they're done. When the book comes out, it's like, here's how I did, which I can't. I've done those, I mean, again, that was my shtick. But looking back on it, I mean, does anybody remember those things? And who reads them except for the egotist who wrote them? Speaking as that egotist, it's always the big rush. That was one of the things that we did. In our excitement was, here's the stuff we had to do. And I wasn't just reading it like a fan and saying, here's my best guess, here's my checklist of things I hope will happen and stuff. I wrote a whole book, Unlocking Harry Potter, which was then the 5 keys, the 5 tools in the shed that we knew were on our wall. And I said, look, all these predictions and ideas of what's going to happen in the last book are only valuable in so much as you're using these keys, so that you become have more facility with that. And then when she does what she does, which is going to be different than anything we possibly imagined, then you'll still have some facility with the keys, and you'll be able to recognize that and do that. Well, that's the value. But what's fun is I was looking back over the site yesterday to see what predictions we'd made, and there aren't that many, but we made them in 2023. That's when we got, because we were using the tools and making the choices and this and that, and all the stuff about the television program and this and that. Not our thing, and not the stuff that we do. But if it's about the mythology, okay, then there was stuff about the mythology. If there's stuff about the structure, by God, we did structure, and the alchemy and all those things. That's stuff that we do, and making predictions about it. I got some weather report rights in Harry Potter because of the alchemy, but there's no way. There's simply no way that you predict. There's going to be more swans in this one, or there's going to be there's a lot of silver in this one. Like, okay, that's great. I love that, and people are now using those things with as commonplaces.
Yeah.
They don't talk so much about what an albedo is and what it means, and what kind of character transformation we should recognize in Stryker Robin, because it's this albedo book. But okay, that's going to be that's just as well, because it's not going to be what you think. So those predictions. So you predicted famously, Nick, that it's not your prediction; it's an interpretation that Charlotte wasn't a suicide.
Yes.
She was a murder victim.
Yes.
And I guess the prediction is that will be revealed in the coming books. And so that's a very exciting thing. But I look back and you put up that prediction and how you saw it, and then what support you found in the story for that idea. And the week after that, which it took you 2 or 3 weeks to put that thing up. I was going crazy because I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so good. This is such a catch. There's someone else is going to write this thing up, and Nick is going to be, Nick's going to get the credit for this. And then you wrote the thing up, but all that week or 2 weeks, we were talking like this, privately, and the other moderators on our channel who will not be named. And we had all these other things, and I thought, oh, Nick's finally got this damn thing up, and now I've got to forget it. People are so far behind; they haven't got any of these things. And so I wrote up all the stuff that we've been talking about the mythology and and the structure, especially the structure, really pounding the structure about how how this thing worked in terms of the suicide at the beginning, the suicide in the middle, and now the suicide at the end, and the meeting in the restaurant with the sibling, and all these things that just really drilled home that this was a sure thing. And some people just they don't want to accept that. That's fine. I mean, that's the fun,
Yes.
because and all of that was done not so much to advance the theory that you get married to, and you're like, oh, am I going to be right and get a big fat red pencil from Miss McGillicuddy? That's not what it's about. What it's about is seeing how the tools work and have some predictive value, yes, but the predictive value, no one's going to remember that. It's when you get into the book and you see it, it's like, okay, so that was right or that was wrong. Shrug of shoulders. Did the tools work? Were the tools valid? Is there a new tool that I'm missing? I mean, you posted yesterday or day before the epigraphs that are available from the French site, and one of them is Matthew Arnold's Merope.
Yeah.
Which, believe me, to a classicist is one of those Merope. I mean, it's definitely 19th century English, consumption with classical story. That this fragment, I mean, there's only like 50 lines of the original, and Matthew Arnold, he makes sure I got all 50 lines in my version of this, and he was working with Moliere's thing and Voltaire's stuff. I mean, it's fascinating just to see that. But even though that's only one epigraph, I think we have to bet that that's going to be one of the mythological templates. So that's very exciting. I've ordered a copy. In fact, I've ordered almost all the epigraph materials. I mean. This Albert Pike stuff about masonry, I'm just like, to a perennialist, Freemasonry is really anathema. Is considered to be trash spirituality and the worst kind of New Age nonsense. No graces, no what the Russians call prelest. Being consumed by your own private ideas and your own secret pathway to God or whatever. But obviously we're going full bore into that in this book. How many we have, 13, 14, 15 epigraphs from that fragment.
We have an epigraph even before the book begins. We have an epigraph for each part and an epigraph for each chapter so far.
So we got the lead one from Robert Browning for the whole book.
Yes.
And then we've got the first part and the second part epigraphs.
Yeah.
And then we have 13 chapters. So we got 16 epigraphs or something like that.
Yeah.
I had to order a copy of, the complete poems of Robert Browning. I was astonished. I didn't have one on my shelf, but I mean, that was kind of embarrassing. I think I've told you the story about this Oxford Don at the University of Chicago, Paul Wheatley. He was the chairman of the Committee on Social Thought, which if you know anything about the University of Chicago, if there's one power department, it's the Committee on Social Thought, because all the biggest brains from every department are members of the Committee on Social Thought. It's a very big deal. And Paul Wheatley was the chairman. So people like Alan Bloom, who was, turned into this giant because of his books about the American mind, that he was one of Wheatley's friends, but he was just another teacher on the committee. He wasn't the chairman. So Wheatley was, he was a fascinating guy, polyglot, Chinese, Arabic, Latin, and Greek, and English, just, able to read and speak those languages.
Yeah.
He was an Australian whose parents were missionaries in China and in what became Saudi Arabia. And so he arrives at Oxford at like 16 or 17, fluent in Latin, Greek, Chinese, and Arabic, which at that point, he may have been like, would it be 5 people on the planet that had that, that resume, he just arrives. By the way, it's 1938 or 39, and he winds up being drafted, and he was laughing with me because I couldn't drink. I wasn't 21 at one of these sherry hours in his apartment. He was the head of my college house. And he just laughed. He's having a mixed drink of, being a good Australian, he could really knock it back. But anyway, he just laughed and said, Mr. Granger, when I won't do the accent. He says, but by the time I was your age, I had been drunk on 5 continents. And it was true. He got to do these amazing things in Africa as the head of a train, and then they put him on it. They made him at 19 or 20. He was the officer in charge of going over the Himalayas, the hump supplying the nationalist Chinese. Because he could talk to the people on the ground in northern India in Arabic, and then fly over the hump and talk to the Chinese and go back and forth and all these things. I was just like, wow, is this for real? Anyway, Paul Wheatley, I came in one day and I was carrying my Oxford edition of Propertius, and it was way, way beyond me. I could not read Propertius without a trot. And even with a trot, I was really struggling with it. And I think I've told you this story. He grabs the book and he just starts, he's got the book in his hand, but it's closed, and he's just reeling off Propertian, pieces. And I'm just, is this for real? Does this guy exist? And he passes me the book back. And he says, "Oh, I love Propertius." He said, really, the only 2 poets worth reading, and this is something that only someone like Paul Wheatley could say because he's read everything. He says the only 2 poets worth reading are Propertius and Robert Browning. And I remember thinking, well, I think I have a better chance with Robert Browning. I'm never going to be able to get the facility in Latin to read Propertius. Anyway, I haven't read Robert Browning.
No.
Shame on me. This the college in Waco, Texas, Baylor University has an incredible romantics library that has, is a building dedicated to the romantics. And I went down there because of Coleridge and because I was giving talks at their honors college, whatever. But that place has a Browning collection that is just not to be believed. Until you go there, you just can't believe what a place that poetry had in the lives of people in the 19th century. And then the in that pantheon, Browning and his wife, Elizabeth Barrett, I mean, that's, they're the Zeus and Juno of that Olympus. So I'm very excited about Rowling doing that. I didn't notice though in those 16 that there was any specific work. It was like she was doing a scatter shot. Yeah. There wasn't like an Aurora Lee where there was going to be a single thing.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, we know we're going to get more Oxenham because she's told us. And she's told us how perfect that book was to get epigraphs out. But the thing that really jumped out of me, not being a classicist, unfortunately, as you well know, John, when Merope jumped out at me, of course, I was thinking of Merope Gaunt. And I'm wondering, not being familiar with the piece.
That's so funny. That's the first I thought. Oh, that's too funny. Anyway, I mean, that's too funny. I mean, go on. Excuse me. I'm just.
Well, I'm wondering if there are. Could she have got the name from the work, or did she find out the name the work because she'd already used the name? Are there any reflections of the Gaunt story in the work, or?
Well, we're gonna find out.
Yeah,
That's um, the the Gaunt. I think is from Vanity Fair, Thackeray's book.
yeah,
But yeah, Merope. I think I listened. Barrett Hardy wrote a long thing about Merope. I didn't even search my own website, to see what,
yeah,
Merope, whatever. I was just reading the Matthew Arnold stuff, which is
yeah,
um, florid and verbose is so characteristic of everything in 19th century English. We've been our language has been so dumbed down and narrowed and emasculated. It's just this doesn't have any of the tension and the subtext
yeah.
and the so. But it's exhausting to go back and try to read that now because you're used to reading Twitter epigraphs.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been doing that. I've been reading Matthew Arnold and totally missed the Merope Gaunt piece. Even though that's the foundation crime and
Yeah.
of the entire Hogwarts series. Anyway, that's funny because and then that's what's it's funny in a self-deprecating way. It's humiliating that that I'm so consumed with the tools, I went right into the mythological thing. Like, okay, this is going to be the template. Because we've already got the Castor and Pollux, we've got the
Yeah.
Leader and the Swan, we've got the Artemis and the Fury to Sesame. That we've got all these mythological pieces. Oh, here's a new one for this next 3 books. We got a new one. It's Merope. Went right into that. Woo! And that's I guess that's a sobering. Mirror reflection is to say, don't get consumed by the tools. Every instance of silver doesn't have to be an Albedo moment. Every swan, it almost certainly is, but don't go there. I mean, for example, Troubled Blood, was a Negretto book,
Yeah.
but it was really wet.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
flooding all over the place there. So you're like, oh gosh, if every rainstorm is an Albedo, what's going on here? So yeah, it's we were talking about how you're reading the book. So you're going to be making notes while you're reading.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Are you going to do it with pen and paper? Are you going to do it with pictures? What are you going to do with this?
No, so one of the nice things with electronic books is you can highlight text. You can add a note to it. If you're busy, you can add a voice note to it. It's searchable. There are some annoying things too. What's really good with a writer like Rowling, who has a very wide vocabulary, is if I come to a word that I'm not familiar with or I'm not really sure in what sense it's being used, you can highlight it and it takes you straight to really a very good dictionary. And I know with print books, I'm always weighing up. Do I put the book down and find a dictionary, or do I carry on and assume I can make sense of it because of the context?
You got to have that monster dictionary open, Nick. You got to have it right next to you. Yeah, I've got this Nabokov dictionary over here this dictionary can be used. I mean, I should register it as a weapon, because if you drop it on somebody from any height, they're dead. This is not knocked unconscious. This is destroyed.
We used to have, and I don't think we have it anymore. I think it went out because we've all gone electronic. But we used to have a shorter Oxford Dictionary, and the shorter Oxford Dictionary was seriously weighty. I mean, the full Oxford Dictionary is several library shelves long. This was the shorter, but still quite a big tome. But the other really useful thing, reading it electronically, I know I'm never going to convince you. I'm never going to convince a lot of people. But what you can do is you can highlight a phrase and do a Google search on it. So if it's a quote you're not familiar with, you can Google search it. If it's in Latin and you don't happen to know very much Latin, then you can translate it as you're reading through.
Come on, they always. I mean, it's pretty rare, and really, she'll put some French in there, I think, without translating, but she won't do that with Latin. She'll always provide a translation in Latin.
There
Oh no,
there's some particularly rude ones she hasn't.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Chisel's attack
Yeah.
Catullus. He doesn't translate. No, that's good. Good choice. Good choice, Joe. Or maybe that was her editor. We really don't need to go there. I get it. I mean, it's a convenience. But there's, I mean, the codex. I'm gonna make a little pitch here for reading the book, rather than the digital version. Is that it's a chiastic structure. It has opposing pages, and so you're holding an artifact of the structure that you're dealing with, and that this opposition, front and back, even if unless you're in Japan, of course, you're doing it. Their forward is our backwards, but that codex experience is edifying.
Oh, you have convinced me. Ever since you marched me to a bookshop to pick up a physical copy of The Ink Black Heart.
I did not march him to a bookshop. I did not march him to a bookshop.
Since then I've always ordered a physical copy as well. So I have a physical copy, but knowing the postal service in South Wales, I'm probably not going to get that until the evening on Tuesday. So at least at kickoff, and probably for most of my reading, because I'll be snatching sort of coffee breaks in work as well, I'll be using my tablet to read.
It will be funny. I know you're very busy this week. I mean, I'm working Wednesday and Thursday, which is not my not my preference. I certainly didn't plan that very well, did I? But you're going to be reading the book electronically.
Yeah.
I assume from the moment it drops, and your codex version is coming later in the day, and you'll have the Audible book sometime in the morning.
Yeah.
If it's like previous drops, so you'll be listening to that on your drive home. I hope you won't be reading the codex or your electronic version while you're driving.
No. So I won't. I tried. I've tried doing a print and Audible sort of mix and match on a book, and it just confuses me. So I have an Audible book. So when I'm walking and I'm driving, I'll be listening to my Audible book, but it won't be the Hallmarked Man. That'll be my first reread. So when I finish the book, and I'll be checking my notes, and we'll be talking, and then I'll start the Audible book. And that's a great opportunity for, on the very mundane level, I never guess who did it. On the last book, I even forgot I was reading a mystery at one point. So that's a great way of me pretending then to be an intelligent reader and picking up all those clues I missed for my second read through. Okay. And again, that's a great way of talking about structure. When you're getting hooked into the plot and you're sinking into the story, certainly I can very easily miss cues. I can miss mythological references, and that reread's a great time to do that, because you don't have to. It's easier to stand back a little bit on your second read through. So second read through.
It helps to have a friend, Nick. So when you see Merope, your friend can say, "Do you think that might have something to do with the foundation crime of Harry Potter?"
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, John. It happens to all of us. Remember who read all about the gift of the bow and arrows and did not pick up on a Cupid reference?
Yeah. Valentine Longcaster.
Yeah.
That to me was like, Whoa, not very subtle there. There we go. Um, yeah. So you hope to, yeah, by picking your moments. I mean, it's funny that neither one of us can just totally devote ourselves to this week.
No.
We're not independently wealthy or um, so um, I'm going to uh, uh, my problem has been with all these drops.
Yeah.
The German version, the English version in the French side, the Audible thing, none of them have come with a table of contents.
No.
And so maybe somebody out there has got some access to this, but I don't know how many parts there are. I'm going to assume there are 9 because it's so long, and I don't know how many chapters there are. She's told us, when she was near the finish, we were at, how many chapters was it, 170 or something? How many chapters was?
I don't know. It was a huge number though. I remember it.
Yeah. And so what I'm probably going to do today, tomorrow is take my pieces of paper. You've seen this, Nick. I'm going to take the big piece of paper together, and maybe not. For the first 9 circles, I think I might just do this on just a large piece of paper.
Yeah.
Not 8 by 11, maybe 11 by 14. The bigger piece of paper, and draw the circle on it. So I have the circles already drawn. So I have the mechanical piece done. We have the first part. I know how many chapters there are in the first part. I can start to do that one. And then I'm going to have, like, for this book, it's so large and there's so many chapters, I'm going to have a giant piece of, several pieces of paper taped together, draw a giant circle on it, and then wait to find out how many chapters there are. You've seen this. You draw the circle, and then you have to make spaces so they're roughly the same size all the way around the circle for each chapter. And then what I'll do when I start to read it, because I won't get my book. I don't know what time on Tuesday my book's going to arrive. It makes me feel pretty, I'm such a cheapskate. I save my 30% on Amazon. I pay for Prime, so why not have the delivery? I could go to the store, a local bookstore, and support my local bookseller, but I'm too cheap to do that. Bad guy, bad, consumer. So if the Audible book is downloaded New York time, which I hope it is, I should have the Audible book, which will have all the chapters by 11 o'clock at night. If it drops New York time, then I'll have it at 11 o'clock the day before, Nick. I'm going to get the book a day before you will. You'll be 7 hours in, and I'll be 7. But anyway, I'll take all the chapters out, and I'll do that drawing. So I have my piece of paper there, and then I will commit myself. I'm not gonna do the ring structure for each part. I'm not going to stop at the end of each part and analyze it. I am, though, going to highlight each part so that I can see the chapters with colors visually. And then I'm going to, with each chapter, I'm going to write down. I have my lethal white picture here, and you can't see it, obviously, in this thing here. But this is the first time I went through it. It doesn't have any of the real breakdowns in it. I have with R and S for Robin and Strike, and where they are, so that when I need to come back and find a passage, I know what I'm looking for. I can just go up and down the chapters and find it quickly and access it that way.
And we know Rowling does this when she's writing. So the Robin chapters and the Strike chapters have a different, and the Robin and Strike chapters have a different color code in her plan.
I'm not going to. I did that with Troubled Blood because, boy, did I work Troubled Blood structure.
If anyone hasn't read that, go and look on the Substack site. It is.
No, you're talking about Running Grave. I'm talking about Troubled
Running
Blood.
Grave.
I did the astrological structure for Troubled Blood. I still haven't done. Forget the abyss of Ink Black Heart that I haven't done, but the Troubled Blood stuff, I'm not sure. I did. I went through that part by part, hoping to crack the crime, and talk about vanity reading. nobody reads that stuff anymore. There's a lot of stuff inside those things about the tarot cards and all these things, but you have to go through so much dross about me trying to figure out who did it. Um, gosh, even I wrote this stuff, and I don't want to read that stuff. Anyway, so I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to read it, make my notes so I have my reference text, and I'm going to have 7 pieces of paper on the side. And those 7 pieces of paper are where I'm going to write down. There's going to be a mythological thing. So I can write Merope on the top of it, and then I'll have a note too saying, "See, Half-Blood Prince." Or talk to Nick about what that actually means. Forget Matthew Arnold. So. Yeah, this is right up there with Trelawney and McGonagall, Nick. This is gosh. The Dean of Harry Potter Scholars doesn't think of Merope gone. Wow. Anyway, so I'm gonna have 7 pieces of paper, and I haven't made these pieces of paper, so let me go through with the 7 pieces. One is going to be mythology and the mythological templates. I'll be looking for things like, and we know that already that I can't no spoilers in this, right? Yeah. So yeah, there'll be Cupid references and these kind of things, and I want to be sensitive to that and write down the page numbers. I'm not going to do the full quotation. I'm just write the page numbers down so I can find them quickly afterwards. Yeah. It's going to be alchemical references, everything that we expect in this book, which we're assuming on the Strike extended play theory that the last 6 books are going to be the 3 stages with a sort of a male and female version of the last 3 stages. I guess I'll have to put Strike extended play down below for people that have missed that. That this is going to be the second Albedo novel, and what that will mean. And whether it's relatively, I say masculine and feminine. This is definitely a gender issue, not a sex issue. This is more like expansion and contraction. Yeah. This is more of an yin and yang thing than it is masculine and feminine the way we understand those words. Basically, this is the great poverty of English as a language, is that it's not an inflected language. So you don't have this constant reference to those qualities that are nominally they're called masculine, feminine, and neuter, where we think of neuter as the weak part of the trio is it's sort of like your dog's been fixed, it's been neutered. It's not masculine or feminine. It's lesser than. When at least in Latin and Greek, which are the languages I studied the most, the neuter thing is the resolution of masculine and feminine. It's really the things that are neuter are much more important. Anyway, so that we don't have that in English, but you can work at getting that masculine, feminine perspective, that yin and yang perspective, because that's, especially for Christianity, that's Palamite theology. That's God and his transcendence and his immanence. Everything reflects that polarity without duality in the world. That's why we have sexes, it's because we're icons of God's, transcendence and immanence. And your language should reflect that, because that's your speech, your interior logos exteriorizing itself. That should reflect that. English does not. So we have that. We're talking about the worst possible language, but sort of the end times language is when all those things become invisible. Your brain doesn't work right. But I'm going to be making notes about those things, especially because that's what Robin and Strike really are. Robin and Strike are soul and spirit. The individual person is not only just male and female, but the individual person has a soul with a spiritual aspect, this nomadic faculty. And that's what Shakespeare uses twins and and couples to show that spiritual dynamic. That's the psychomachia. That's going to be a page 2, Nick. We're going to have the soul struggle, which is going to be how Strike now is the soul in pursuit of his beloved, And it's very much like Cupid's pursuit of Psyche after Psyche's gone through her trials. Psyche in a way is, and obviously Robin is not only, what part of the Castor and Pollux, she's the driver and she's the human side of things, but she's the psyche, she's the psychologist. Yeah. Strike lovingly always refers to her as the soul person. And he's, the son of Zeus, he's the son of Johnny Rokeby, and he's this transcendent figure that always figures out the crime, so I'll be looking for the psychomachia about their relationship and how that works. I like everybody else, I'll be like, oh, is he gonna be able to get Murphy out of the picture or whatever? I always remember that Murphy's name, Murphy means sea warrior. And it's one of the sons of Neptune that kills Castor and Pollux. Don't ever be counting Murphy out. He's never, until he's dead, he is not out of the picture, right? I mean, this is the mythological thing says, wow, Murphy is one dangerous dude, but he's if I can't have Robin, nobody can have Robin, So anyway, so there's that. So we've got literary alchemy, we've got psychomachia. We've got the structure. Obviously, I'll be charting the structure independently of that, and that's something I'll come back to really to that. What else have we got, Nick? What other tools are on the wall here? Structure, alchemy, psychomachia, mythology. It's great. I need to actually sit down with my website and find out the things, the tools that are on the wall. We'll definitely be talking about.
You've mentioned alchemy.
Yeah, we're talking about ghosts too. I think
that,
that almost every book in the Strike series has this Potos Tauranos in Russian. For all the Russians out there, forgive me for butchering that. It's really otherworldliness. And Rowling, like her hero Nabokov, always has this just out of sight, just out of your ability to see it, this psychic realm where those we loved are still with us. So we can expect that there'll be ghosts in this book. It'll either be the murder victim or someone close to Strike who has died, but you'll have to be sensitive to those things as you go through it. Even in the first time, you're not going to get them all. This is like, you can't take Rowling's bag and turn it upside down and get all the candies out. She's got some sort of sticking charm that's always stuck at the bottom of the bag.
And that's her intention. That's her intention. She wants you on the. She likes rereaders. She wants you on the third time you read it, the fourth time you read it, to always pick up just something a little bit new.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get that. There's going to be. What else have we got, Nick? Anyway, I'm going to have 7 pieces of paper. I'm not even sure what's going to be on them yet, but it's going to be the tools in the shed, and I'll be going through it looking for that stuff. That will be. We're going to basically have a week off in terms of posting. There'll probably be a gaffes page. I really still am astonished. During my reread, like, did she really? What? You're just like, these. And I'm not a really good gaff catcher. I don't have the magisterial command of Strike canon and the timeline and all those things. I mean, there are scientific readers that are really good at that stuff. But
I think it helps as well being a UK reader, sort of steeped in the culture. I know in my recent reread of the Strike Ellicott canon so far. So she will refer to Royal Marines as Navy. That's a great way to upset a Royal Marine.
Whoa! Whoa!
And in Strike's voice, so an army guy referring to a Royal Marine as Navy. I mean, how that didn't become physical, I've no idea. Uncle Ted, she continually refers to him as being a lifeguard, where he's a lifeboatman. And again, in the UK, they are very different people. So the lifeguards are the guys on the beach with the funny hats. that run in after struggling swimmers. The lifeboatmen, they take their lifeboats out in stormy seas to save lives. They're very, very different people. So yeah, I'm going to be looking for gaps as well. The last book.
Why are we so confident? Why are we so confident that Team Rolling is going to? I mean, that we know there are going to be gaffes. I mean, it's
just speaking personally, for me it's a sales pitch. So I'm putting this out there in the hope that J.K. Rowling will offer me a job as an early proofreader to pick up these gaffes.
Good luck with that, Nick.
Joe, if you're listening, contact details down below.
Yeah, it's coming with your birthday party invitation, Nick. It'll be there. Yeah, one of the things I'll be looking for, of course, are golden threads.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the big thing is pulling those golden threads. I mean, we know they're going to be lost children.
Yeah.
I'm going through. I may put up a post today about, just I went through and we went, reading Harry Potter through the abortion hypothesis lens. Yeah. To my knowledge, nobody has gone through Cormoran Strike looking at it through the abortion lens, the induced abortion lens. Got a host of lost children. I lost children everywhere. Yeah. And I get it. The lost children thread is, if people are going to be different and exotic, where are they going to get that exotic nature effect, except for the fact they got an unhappy childhood? There's going to be, that's kind of a given in human life, is the Freudian family romance, as Camille Paglia says it. That I get it, but there's so many missing one and grieving parents and this and that. The world is as.
Then there's pregnancy traps. Something that once it's pointed out to you is so unusual and so persistent that once you see it, it almost comes across as odd, the frequency that it comes up.
And anything to do with anybody who becomes pregnant now in one of Rowling's books, after you've done the pregnancy trap review of everything she's written, and surveyed it, now anybody's pregnant, you're like, whoa, who decided that was a good idea? I mean, who's the person that got snatched? It's a bear trap. Oh, gotcha. Who thinks that way? That's just too bizarre. So I mean, it's like, I live, Texas and Oklahoma are pretty much the centers of homeschooling in the United States, for a lot of reasons. Oklahoma is the only state that has homeschooling guaranteed in its state constitution. Texas came to it through a couple of court decisions and largely through its church structures, which are still very strong. So if you see, 10-year-olds walking around the streets during the day, Monday to Friday, you don't think to yourself, oh, there's a truant. You think to yourself, there's a homeschooler. And if a policeman stops that kid to ask him what he's doing, he's going to get that prayer chain from that local Baptist church involved, and business is going to shut down in government until that policeman has been reprimanded, if not broken. So seeing kids walk around is just not that big a deal here. Praise God. It's like the 70s here. It's a wonderful thing. Children can ride their bikes around and stuff like that. What a weird place to live. But in Rowling's novels, if you see a pregnant woman, or you see a child walking about who doesn't have matching clothes or something, doesn't have his hand in his mother's hand or something, you're thinking, oh no, what's this? Is this a lost child? Is this, is that a pregnancy trap? Is that, that's or God forbid anybody commits suicide.
Yeah.
Forgive me for saying that. Suicides are always tragic, but in Rowling world, nobody commits suicide because of mental illness. There's at least not mental illness that wasn't precipitated by cruelty and gaslighting or whatever. suicides are always driven by exterior forces, meaning specifically human beings that either forced them to do it or they didn't. It wasn't a suicide at all. It was a flat out murder, and that's those golden threads. Will I'll definitely have sheets for those things going forward. And there's a lot of golden threads. I mean, you got Bad Dad, you've got the Divine Mother, you've got all these things. So yeah, that's that. I may have more than 7 sheets, Nick. Now we've gotten into golden threads, and that'll be fun. That'll be fun because if I have all these things, I'm just making notes with page numbers. Then when at the end of the week, or next time I guess we were talking this time next week. You may finish by next Sunday, you think?
I think at some point on Sunday I'll have finished. And I'm trying to be conservative. Great. I know what I'm like. I'm going to put in some late nights, so it's probably going to be before then. But being conservative, I think this point next week.
900 pages is 900 pages, man. and if you're doing anything other than just turning pages, it's a week's work. And I may be communicating with the paid subscribers during the week, touching base with them, showing them my pictures. If you're a paid subscriber, we'll be doing that. That's or the people that are just all over our comment boxes or whatever. I may include them in this stuff too. And obviously the moderators channel, Nick, you'll be you'll be getting this stuff. Boy, I tell you, I'm really missing the rolling library. The rolling library has gone out, and Patricio Tarantino put in yeoman's labors to create this incredible resource for Strike and Potter fandom, really rolling fandom, and it's not present. I want to note that that absence is felt. That is just one of these. I was communicating with Patricio, and about all these things, and he says, John, I'm pulled out of it. I'm not following all the various drops that team rolling is doing. And I was just doing whoa, because nobody, I don't think, in the history of rolling fandom has been so well connected internationally and so beloved by everybody. All the different types of fandoms, this and that. I mean, wow. If you're out there, Patricio, thank you for all the things that you've done and all the tools that you created that remain invaluable to us. And you're missed, brother. You're really missed. Anyway, he's going to hate me for saying all that stuff. But anyway, that's the moderators' channels will be going. I look forward. One thing I'm not going to track that I hope you will be tracking, Nick. Is the book model for this. I'll be thinking, looking at the epigraph, seeing if there's any predominant thing, but it looks like there's 5 or 6 books that she's drawing from, not obviously related, in the first 14 chapters. A lot of Freemasonry stuff, a lot more than I expected. Robert Browning, that came out of nowhere. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a book that comes out. Of course, there's the Oxenham. But the Oxenham epigraphs that she's chosen so far are just kind of funny, about the mining and stuff. It's not. I mean,
and it sounds to me, like she came across the Oxenham book because she wanted to go to Sark, which meant she was a good deal through the plotting of the novel before she discovered that book. So it can't be the book within the book.
I'm gonna push back on that, Nick. I'm gonna.
Okay.
This is my job to say. What? Are you kidding? I'm gonna. Again, I have no reasoning to believe this, but the fact that Oxengham's daughter, Oxenham is a pseudonym, but Oxengham's daughter, who also I think used that pseudonym, wrote these children's books. For 50, 60 years. There's 38 of them or something. There's just an incredible shelf of these. They're almost all girls' novels, right? They're school girl novels.
And one main big series, I think, the Abbey books.
That's right. And I'm wondering if Rowling didn't, that her library didn't have those books, and so she plowed through them. I mean, I did the Hardy Boys, and there's a lot more than 38 of those. And that that may have been where she really got her idea for serial fiction, and because of her Oxenham thing, which she's never mentioned. So there's no evidence of this at all.
No.
Everybody out there rolling their eyeballs, I get it. But if she did read the Abbey series, which is fascinating because it'd be a church schoolgirl thing. There's a lot of stuff going on in there, right? Then maybe she came across the dad's work during that period, and she's been wanting to do something with the Oxenham books since she was a young woman. Because believe me, Oxenham sales I'm sure are way, way up, Nick. The Sark novels or whatever.
They're out of copyright now. I mean, hence the reason why free electronic copies are readily available.
I mean, I've got a codex version of the book. I'm looking around here to see if it's handy, but it's not. And it's not heavy reading. The characters are engaging. It's melodrama as much as anything else. And I don't think there's a lot of alchemical freight in here, but it was a fun read, and I look forward to seeing what she does with it. It's not Robert Browning, Nick.
No, it's certainly not. It's a good sort of romantic adventure story. It's very atmospherically written. So anyone who's sort of familiar with the UK coastline, as I am a little bit, the sort of descriptive powers of the rocks and the rock pools and the sea life and it is very well done. It makes you want to go down the beach again.
For me, it was a Robert Louis Stevenson throwback.
Yeah.
That whole adventure on the rock and his isolation there and the finding caves and all those things. That to me was it was Kidnapped. There's that scene where where the hero of the story, the young hero, and his crazy French Scottish, I don't want to call him a pirate, but he's a brigand, and they're stuck on a rock, and the Brits are running around underneath the rock trying to figure out where they are. It's like, oh wow, here we are, and that's the dead center of Kidnapped.
Yeah,
is this circular rock, and they're all running around it, and we get something like that in what's the title of the book, Nick?
Maid of the Silver Sea. I mean, Oxenham himself, he actually calls back to Alexander Selkirk and Robinson Crusoe, because there's some of that as well about the sort of siege mentality of the hold up fugitive battle plans and there's very much of that in there. It is high adventure, but with romance.
Yeah, definitely the relationship between the hero and the heroine and the stuff, and how she saves his life. I mean, she's basically saving his life again and again and again. Yeah, and that's fun. I can see where Robin. Wow, there's a Freudian moment there. Is that Rowling as a young woman would really have loved this Maid of the Silver Sea. I mean, she's not your typical. Please save me. She's not being tied to the tracks and being saved by Dudley Do-Right in this book. Dudley Do-Right is the guy tied to the tracks, and she's constantly untying him. So it's a good read. It's a fun read. Again, it's not Robert Browning. One of the funniest things was when the German comes out. I knew my German. My high school and college German was not equal to reading, this rolling translation, but the Robert Browning quote is there, and it gave you the source for it. So I thought, well, my German's probably good enough that I can go into this and figure out which of the stanzas that it is, because this is the epigraph for the whole book. This is a really critical, piece. for what Rowling is trying to say here. And I was astonished. Robert Browning, here we go. And I think I did. I think it's the second stanza of the poem that's referenced. But it was hard.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, is that really a translation, or is that kind of a free will? I mean, it's just like, here's what I think Browning meant, and so I'm gonna. But I was like, whoa. But the best part about that is that you sent me a machine translation that a friend sent to you or whatever. And so there we had Robert Browning, one of the most difficult and profound, poets. I should say profound popular poets. I mean, he had a real popular base. This isn't, this isn't the metaphysical poets. Anyways, so there we had an English translation from the German translation of Browning, and I tell you, Nick, there's simply no way to connect that English translation back to Browning. I mean, I was just laughing, like, well, that so much for my wanting to read the machine translation. I'm done at the epigraph. I'm not even going to open this thing. Fortunately, then the French English version became available. I mean, it's just too wild. Is Team Rowling playing 8-dimensional chess, Nick, or are they just bumbling, Keystone Cops?
I think this is an error. So it's the Mulholland imprint, but all the electronic booksellers in the US and the electronic library services in the US are obeying the embargo. There's lots of people, particularly in the UK, are going to small mom and pop bookstores, trying to see if they can get something out of the back a couple of days early. No. The rumor is there's some sort of high penalty for breaking this embargo. So the just people are not doing it. They're not getting. I think I've seen one photographic evidence of an early copy that somebody's got, and they're not saying where they got it from. So I think this French, which is why I'm surprised now, Sunday night here in the UK, I'm surprised it's still up. I think this is a genuine error. I don't think this was supposed to go up.
Oh well, I can see Neil Blair and company saying, let's prime the pump a little bit. Let's get them that first part. But how can we do this? How about we release it through the French side? I mean,
maybe it's some oblique reference to Sark. Maybe they're upset in France that it's being set in Sark rather than Paris. So to retaliate, they've released this early.
Wow. I mean, those of you that have been in this site a long time, if you're playing the Will John Tell the Career of Evil drinking game, that story, my advice to anyone trying to find an early copy is to go to a bookstore that sells bestsellers almost exclusively, and yet is not staffed by bookish people. And so I would go to bus stations and to airports. That was my success. I was flying to a Harry Potter conference at Chestnut Hill when Career of Evil came out, and I went into the newspaper stand type store inside every airport, and in our wonderful airport here at Oklahoma City, Will Rogers World Airport. Can't say it's international because it doesn't have any flights international. They connect to the world. They connect to the world, though.
I thought you were going to stop at flights there, John. It doesn't have any flights.
Well, you might as well. I mean, you're driving to this airport and you see the Amelia Earhart Women in Aviation Museum on one side, and then you get to the Will Rogers World Airport, and you're like, these are all famous pilots who or passengers who died in airplane crashes. Why would you name your airport after? Now, Will Rogers is really a giant here in Oklahoma for obvious reasons, but it's still one of these. The guy died in an airplane crash. You name the bus station after him. Don't name the airport after him. Anyway, I was in the airport. I went get a newspaper or a magazine, and there it was, Career of Evil, Robert Galbraith. And I thought, these people don't know who Robert Galbraith is. They don't know that that's J.K. Rowling. It's not on the cover. It's in the flaps, but it's not on the cover. Author of best-selling Cuckoo's Calling. Well, they don't know what that is either. So I bought a copy. Took it with me to the conference, and everybody there was just,
Did you buy me a copy, John?
Really? That was the thing, was you bought one copy knowing you were coming to this conference? I thought, well, it'd be kind of gross if I bought 6. The person might be alerted to the questions, fact. Yeah. Guys, like, why are you buying 6 copies? Oh, well, I have this vision issue. No. But I did get one more when I came home, because I realized that my children were going to be strangling me to get their hands on this thing. And so I had Career of Evil 2 or 3 days in advance. But yeah, if you're looking for that accessible copy, don't go to a bookstore. Don't go to any place where people know about books. Go to a place that's staffed by a circulating number of workers that would just work at that place, and that they won't recognize that, because especially it's that maybe why we know they moved the date up, because there's a Dan Brown book coming out.
Yeah, I believe so.
A week afterwards, and so they moved the date up. But another reason is because they may have wanted bookstores in these places put their things out on the beginning of the month. So only the 1st would this thing be available if they brought the things out from the back. I expect that we'll see a lot more copies of the book tomorrow on the 1st than we see today.
Well, this video has to go on up on the Substack on Monday. That's tomorrow as we're recording it, because nobody's going to be watching this on Tuesday. So that's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. John, you're going to be traveling to Oklahoma City Airport to check out the bookshop.
No, I'd have to buy a ticket to get onto the main concourse, and I haven't got that in me to do that. I did call them, on books 4 and 5. I did call them and say, do you have a book by a guy named Robert Galbraith, whatever? And they're like, no.
Not book people.
No, or maybe they twigged to the fact that how many times has a bookstore at Oklahoma City Airport made the news? Anyway, I am looking forward to a week away from posting and doing these things, and the intense reading I've been going through, trying to do a reread in this last week. But this is really a fun time. I'm a 4th generation guy, Nick. I'm really pushing that pretty hard. You don't want to emphasize. You don't want to live for the new book or the latest book. You want to really try to get that opera omnia perspective on things, and the golden threads, perspective. But if you have that perspective, you can really enjoy the new book experience. It's not like a mania. It's more like, wow, now we get to, our favorite author, who is not only brilliant from her plots and things like that, but is a real artist. It really delivers challenging meaning inside her books, and really an imaginative experience, which is transformative. You don't have those tools on your shed wall unless you're aiming at really some pretty high prizes. And to be part of the fandom community that treasures this really like a providential gift in the 21st century, to have an author using these kind of tools, and it's having fun.
Yeah.
All the stuff about the parallel series things. I mean, maybe that's going to show itself in the last book. All of a sudden, we're going to have Harry Potter characters walk into the book or something. Something weird. That just seems to have been something that Rowling did for grins and giggles.
Yeah.
For her serious readers in the fandom. That's that, and things like the ghosts and the alchemy and the structure stuff, which is invisible to even the most serious fans, will not be charting the book. They're consumed by charting the series, which we don't have all the books in this series, so that's
No.
kind of like, okay, knock yourself out. But I mean, until you have the last book, you're not going to know what the real connections are. So that's great. But you know, we do have we know that the books are those structures as well. You know, it'd be great if somebody else would be charting the structure independently of our efforts here, so that we could compare them to see if this is not just, you know, the obsessed, you know, one note wonder here. You know, I don't do orchestras. I just play the same note on, you know, the same chord on my guitar again and again and again. If somebody else would, you know, take this thing apart and chart the chapter sets and the parts and say, okay, here's how that works, and we can see where we see the same things or where we don't. That would be fun. You know, maybe Aurora, Ed Shardlow, all you people out there, you know, Kathleen O'Connor. But Kathleen, I want you to know that comment you put up about the artwork inside the works of J.K. Rowling. In my reread, not only for the Conrecki, but for you know, getting up to speed on Strike again, I thought repeatedly of you. I thought we really do need to do the golden thread of the artwork. Especially there could be a subset of this is just the stone, the sculpture and the stonework of London that are referenced in every book.
Yeah.
That and men in luminescent clothing. They're like, oh, there they are again. You know, there they are again. You know, it's always the guys with the reflective vests on. I'm like, what is this about? So, Kathleen, I hope maybe you'll be, Kathleen, I hope you'll start charting these books in terms of the artwork in them, because Rowling is definitely writing about the experience of reading and writing inside these books. And certainly the shorthand way to do that is to talk about art. You know, the experience people have, their engagement with art, hence all the paintings at Hogwarts. Hence her constant references to what kind of art people have in their homes. I don't know about you, Nick, but you know, as a lower middle class American, fallen from the great heights of you know, affluent America, I don't have a lot of artwork on my walls. I mean, I've got a ton of iconography, but you don't have that in your living room.
No.
Actually, we do have some by our doorway, but that Rowling, you know, almost every room she walks into, it seems there's a piece of art.
Yeah.
And I suspect, as with all things Rowling, that's meaningful, and it's something that we've neglected. That's another golden thread that someone needs to track. Thank you, Kathleen, for, you know, in a very generous way, pointing out a huge blind spot in Rowling studies. And I hope that you will take a leading point in helping us, you know, pull that golden thread and showing how it works through all of her work. I'm going to be excited about the golden threads we already have. I'm not going to put the artwork thing on this one. I have folded down every page as I go through Strike again. You know, oh, there's another piece of art. You know, Kathleen, this is for you. We're going to track this thing. It's an exciting time, Nick, to be in Rowling studies. You know, certainly, you know, the lost child and the induced abortion hypothesis, as much as it's generated other explanations for the lost child, that's a big deal. I'm sorry if people think that I'm married to the idea and my ego rides on that coming true. You know, I think it's the challenging point to take to have people look at these books differently and think about Rowling's priority as a writer, the springs in her lake. And if it pans out, it'll be like Scaroscope was after Deathly Hallows came out. Nobody remembers Scaroscope. I shouldn't say that. Some people that like to laugh at my speculations, they remember Scaroscope. But that what people remember me for and the work that I did in Harry Potter for, is basically the tools on the wall here, the alchemy and the structure and all that stuff. I forgot. One of those pieces of paper, Nick, has to be the Christian symbolism. I'm still the Christian symbolism guy. That we're going to have to be talking about. Something else I want to chart is how many times Strike takes the Lord's name in vain. Sometimes it seems to be a very, very powerful moments. He does this, especially the first time he does it is when he almost kills Robin at the top of the stairs. And it's almost as if he invokes that ichthus. Here's this male and female, these two circles, and when he grabs her, these circles intersect. He grabs her breast. He invokes the Lord's name. It's like, okay, that's a signal that this is a backdrop piece of this story. So I'm looking forward to that. All right.
Well, the next time we talk, or the next time we drop a video of us talking anyway, pretty much all of the serious strikers, the guys like us that are itching to get their hands on the copy as soon as they can, will have completed their read. So I'm excited. I'm excited really just to talk about what our first initial impressions are of the book and what we found. It is an exciting time.
Yeah, I'll probably send you some video of my charts, Nick. God willing, by the end of the week, you could say, okay, here's put them up on PowerPoint slides. We'll have to figure out how we're going to attack this beast. Because it's almost 1,000 pages.
Yes. So I think it's probably worth us, as we put out in that poll, is we with the guys that are following through with us, we take the next week to read it through. We'll have a talk about that, and then we'll look at it part by part.
Boy, it's going to be a fun month, Nick.
September
promises to be a big deal. I should thank you for your fellowship here in this. I mean, I
thank you, John.
It is funny that I'm wearing the red shirt and you're wearing the blue shirt. There couldn't be. I understand in the UK that's backwards. That's blue shirts are like blue blood. That's a Tory symbol. The reds are, and the reds are the communists.
Blue. Yeah. We keep the red flag flying, John.
I mean, believe me, conservatives have always hated the red state distinction, saying, how can you call the conservatives the Reds? Do you have no sense of history? I mean, did the world begin in 9/11? It's especially as an Orthodox Christian, that more millions of Orthodox Christians were killed by the communists than in the entire history of Christianity before that. When I wear red, it's got to be more of a alchemical contrast here than it is anything else. But it is funny. I mean, I'm the traditionalist. You're the socialist, atheist, bad guy there in the UK.
That's why we complement each other so well, John.
Well, I think it's only because of your charity and kindness. But as it is, this partnership has been certainly one of the peak experiences of my life as a rolling part of the Royal Society of Rolling Readers or whatever, and someday we'll have to have that ceremony, Nick, when you're inducted into the third degree or whatever. Shouldn't the Royal Society of Rolling Readers be organized like Freemasonry? Shouldn't there be
maybe a little bit of homework for you there, John. You need to come up with the ceremonies and the scary threats if we ever break our vows.
Wow. I'm not looking forward to learning more about Freemasonry, frankly, but I do look forward to seeing what Rolling does with it. For all of you out there that are readers, we wish I know I speak for Nick, and that we wish you a fun first read.
Yeah.
And we hope that you'll join us here next week.
Yep.
Same bat time, same bat channel, and we'll be talking about the Hallmarked Man.
Wow. Take care, everyone.
Salute.